I'm sending a message back to HQ right now. We are live. Cool. We're live. Sending a message back there. We'll just wait for some people to come and join us. For those of you who are joining us, maybe you're going to catch this on the recorded version. So welcome. I'm Steve Patton here with Rapzilla.com, and we are live with Lecrae. With Lecrae Moore in his prayer pose. So we are here. You ready to have some fun with this interview? Ready to check in?
Google Plus, man, failing me already.
Kicked you out. See, people be thinking it's me. It wasn't even me. But see, you back before we even start, so it's dope.
All right, cool. Kick me right on now.
See, it's got you frozen over here in prayer pose already. It's church close.
I was praying it worked.
It was church close video already in front. Well, we are here. We are live here with kind of a first and exclusive. We're excited to have here because it's not our first interview with Lecrae, but this is our first live interview. Lecrae, welcome. How you doing, bro?
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank y'all for having me.
Oh man, we're glad you could take the time to be with us today, dude. So let's go ahead and jump right into it.
Yes, sir.
News broke already earlier this afternoon that you are Billboard 200. After all of the sweat, after all the work, after all the planning, after all the everything, the sweat and the upset stomach from stressing over what could be with this project, everything drops. The Billboard's 200, number 3 top-selling album of the week. Dude, how does that feel? From the gut, how does that feel?
Number 3. That's it. I'm just playing. Man, it's surreal. I don't, the mission is never to be ranked high for being ranked high's sake. Really, the mission has always been to garner attention, to fan a flame so that people can catch wind of a movement that exists outside of Lecrae, and really begin to understand the truth that we are consistently and constantly rallying around. And so for me, it's just awareness, man. I'm really grateful. I feel fortunate.
That's dope, man. Now, historically on release dates, you kind of do stuff to, not to play a pun on your song, but you kind of play the background. When Rehab dropped, you were in Sudan.
Yeah. When
Overdose dropped, you were in Haiti.
Yeah.
When Church Clothes dropped, Street was on Twitter saying you was outside playing with the kids. But you kind of stuck around and you were out doing some promotional stuff when Gravity dropped. So what have you done on this one to kind of keep your head level, especially considering the success that is garnered?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would have tried to get away if I had the opportunity. We really just had a full schedule already packed in, but by the time the album came out. But, man, I have some great friends, man, just great brothers that I can lean on and I can constantly get with and share my struggles with and be transparent and say, yo, man, I need to be level-headed, like keep me level-headed, like help me see things from the right perspective. And it was just said to me, like, it was asked to John Piper, like, hey, how do you stay humble? And he says, I look at the cross, I see Jesus hanging there, beaten and bloody, and I'm reminded that I put him there. My sin put him there. And it keeps me humble. And if there's nothing else will humble you, that does. So, hey.
That'll definitely be there. Now, you mentioned a few people on Twitter about some people who was also in your life kind of keeping you level-headed. Who were those people this go around?
Yeah, man, it's definitely my man BJ. BJ been riding with me since, BJ rolling with me since, man, back in like 03. It's my dude. Definitely my man AT. I'm on Twitter as Red Rev. He's been in my corner. My man, a pastor and Leonce and people at the church as well. And just had a lot of great advocates, the whole Reach Records family, and it just really, and then most of all, man, to be honest with you, is my wife. She's so impressed. It's funny to me. It's just like, hey, I need you to change somebody's diaper. I need you to take the trash out. You know what I'm saying? So it just keeps you humble, man.
Or when the juice is dripping from the garbage bag, nobody care about no billboard at that point.
Ain't nobody worry about that, man.
Now, we talk about Street, blowing up on Twitter saying he was hanging out with the kids when church clothes dropped. But, this was your first retail album, working with Street as A&R. How did it feel to give up that much control of a project, especially one of this magnitude, and give up that much control this go around?
We've really developed an environment of trust at Reach. We really do trust each other's opinions. I remember Trip when he was working on Between Two Worlds. He brought the album into a hotel room before any mastering and whatnot, mixing was put on, and he just let all of us listen and said, chop it up. Tell me what needs to go, what needs to stay. And man, we just are really cultured to take criticism and to let others speak into our projects. So it really wasn't a big deal for me to allow Street to use his talents and his expertise. I trust his judgment. I trust his ear, his reputation, and that's my dude. And we good friends. And so, even in that, we can push back on each other, and we just work well together, man. So it was great. I mean, he's extremely gifted at what he does, and man, he's just a very key asset to the project.
Now, so you got the success of the album,
yeah,
which is perfect promo for you guys. So you got the album coming. Well, you got the album dropping, huge success, and now you got the tour coming up this fall.
Yeah.
How you feeling about that? I mean, excited? What's the feeling? What's like the atmosphere around? Because I know you guys are rehearsing and practicing, man. What's the atmosphere around the buzz for the tour around you guys?
Man, the tour is just kind of like it's like the highlight of our year every year. It's just when we get to get together, band of brothers come together, go serve people, go encourage, inspire people. And then it's like a family reunion in every city we go to, because it's like unashamed believers in the crowd who are going nuts. And we just feeding off of each other. And it's just like a party, city after city after city. It's like for a lot of us, the music that we have, there's no club environment that you can just, jam to your favorite song. So the tour is like that environment for us, where we just get to go berserk to all this music that we've been working hard to put out. So we're excited. And then, more than anything is attracting all these new listeners who are going to hear, when you come to an Unashamed tour, you're on our turf, you're in our territory, and you're going to hear what matters most to us. You're gonna hear truths that rock us, and it's like, man, I saw you in the street, we was kicking it, I invited you to church. Hey, you in church now, partner. You know what I'm saying? So it's gonna be good, man.
Word. So what can so we're kicking off in October, kicking off first date in New York City. You're even making a stop on October 6th in my hometown, Detroit City. Shout out to the 313 Fearless Entertainment. What can people expect? What can people really expect from you guys on the tour? Can they expect to hear some new music from some of the artists? Or you got some secret surprises you're dropping in there? What's some stuff people can expect from the tour?
Every year it does this. It just goes up, and the production level goes up. The artistry level goes up. I think between KB and Andy, our two new artists, they're going to add an element that just is going to rock people. It's just, those are two of the most incredible performers. So they're going to set stuff off. And then, just the production is stepped up another notch again. And, guys are doing new music. People going to be previewing new songs. And so you just get a new taste of, all kind of different things. And it's going to be a dope experience. If you don't come, you're missing out.
Word. So, I mean, you've mentioned KB. You got the success of KB having the #2 hip-hop album in the country when his album dropped.
Yeah.
You've got the rising popularity of Andy Mineo.
Yeah.
You've got the continued success of Trip Lee. You got chart-topping success with Tadashi. You guys have had an amazing run in the last few years, and of course leading up to now, you is no doubt that it's going to continue to rise. Are you surprised at the success of Reach Records?
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like this. We're surprised at how it took off and it's taken off, and but we understand how to steward it to keep that sense of consistency. So clearly, God's faithfulness and God's sovereignty allowed all this to happen. But we just want to be faithful to keep it consistent, to keep doing our part to make it do what it's doing. Like there's no way we can make sure KB's album does as successful as it does, but we can make sure it's a great album, on our end. And so that's kind of the end of our bargain that we try to hold to.
Now, you mentioned, being consistent. Now, as far as the approach to music, at least the philosophy of your music, there are some that would say that that has not been consistent. There's been kind of a culture and an ethos and ideology that you guys held to over at Reach some years ago. And then fast forward to where we are now, some would say that that is drastically different. Would you agree with them?
Yeah, I would. Okay, so you want me to keep? I'm gonna keep it 100. You want the 100? You want the 2020 version?
100. I want the barber shop. It's just you and the barber in there kicking it version.
All right. So I was gonna write a song about it, and I probably still will, but just to give people some clarity, without going like I'm a name names and all kind of stuff like that, but we came up cross movement, for the most part, and cross movement had a lot of philosophies and ideologies, and we didn't even think about their philosophies or ideologies, or we didn't have any of our own, so we just adopted theirs. We hadn't grown into our own skin. They were far more advanced theologically than we were, and it's just like, hey man, whatever y'all say goes. And those brothers led us into a lot of incredible truths and gave us a lot of wisdom and just really allowed us to kind of walk on their platform and move forward. And we're forever grateful. But as we grew into our own skin, we began to realize, man, we're not y'all. We're distinctly different. We see things a little differently, and it's not because we disagree as much as we realize we're not wired the same. So I don't want to be a professor of theology. I could never. That's never been an ambition for me. But I was made to feel like it should be because of the camp that I rolled with, right? And they never imposed that on me. It's just that's how I felt. And as I grew, I just learned like God had uniquely wired and gifted me, and the guys at my label, were uniquely wired and gifted as well. And as we've grown, man, we've wrestled with, man, what is our stance on this? What is our stance on what producers to use? What is our stance on, how to do this and how to do that? Because we never really had developed our own. And so we had to go back to the scriptures. We had to go back and read books, and we had to go back and grow and process. And what you've just seen over the years is that growth, is that progression, is that understanding of where we land the plane. And it's not I don't think it's this is right and this is wrong. I think it's this is what I choose to do and this is what you choose to do. And so some people say, man, I don't watch television. It's not a sin to watch television, but we just feel like we don't want to watch television because we don't want to be corrupted by any of the things we see. But some others say, well, we are going to watch television, actually. We're going to watch it. We think we can benefit from it. We're not going to let it master us. We're going to use it strategically. And that's really what's kind of happened over the years is, man, we've grown. We've read books by, Chuck Colson, Francis Schaeffer, Nancy Pearcey, who talked to us about how to engage culture. And I think, man, Crosswomen did an excellent job at edifying the church and bringing in solid theological truths to the body. I think we're passionate about transforming culture and evangelism and culture transformation and being hands and feet and And that was really kind of our wiring and our gifting, and that's kind of what we want to bring to the body. So that's what happened.
All right, now within that, now there are people who held the view that you hold now.
Yeah.
Back then.
Yeah.
Now, though, at least from, I'll say this, at least, maybe not specifically from your mouth, but some of the culture that was bred within that, just like how you said that, they never said you had to be a, theological teacher. Just kind of the culture just kind of bred that kind of thing. Culture bred the kind of thing where the people who felt the way that you felt at the time would say that that you felt like you were right and they were wrong. And now they see you doing this new direction without any mention of the people who went before you who had that same thing. Do you think do you think they feel justified and feeling slighted in that, or do you think that they're just misreading some of the stuff that you said in the past and stuff that you're doing now?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, man, we got to curb our selfish ambition. We got to curb that desire to want to be the first. We got to curb that desire to want to be the I started it, because really you didn't. God did. This is really his stage. So it really, at the end of the day, it's not about you. It's not about me. It's about what God is doing, and he's the one that deserves the credit for even allowing any of us to be able to have a platform to articulate or express any of these things. And so, there was never an intentional, like, they shouldn't do it that way. We're doing it the right way from me. And now it's not I think what it is, man, as you grow in grace. And as I've grown in grace, I've learned to have grace with other people, and toward other people. And so for me, it's kind of like, man, praise God for what I did not understand then that I understand now. And forgive me, brother, if I didn't extend grace then. I extend grace now. And hopefully you maturely extend grace back. But, it wasn't a big, like, I never had a big beef with anybody about what they were doing. I may have scratched my head and been like, but it was never like, they're tripping. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. So
now you get to have a pretty interesting, even in that same frame, you get to have an interesting relationship, in which, of course, creates interesting dialogue, because you have a tunnel rat on tour.
Yeah.
And he was around during all of the, during the time where there was kind of the Christian rap culture war, so to speak.
Right.
Having had somebody from that camp with you now, how has that helped even more so to shape some of your approach and what you do?
What's funny is, man, when we met up with Propaganda and Braille and them and Odd Thomas, it was like this kind of like, are we supposed to not like each other? Because I think everyone doesn't want us to like each other. And, it's just like this ridiculousness. And we just, I remember somebody started it off, and it was just expressed, yo, I dig your music. And it was like, yo, I dig your music. Let's talk. And we talked. We went out to get something to eat. And it was like, yo, these dudes are solid. Yo, these dudes are solid. What is the trip? What is the issue? And it was like, well, we never really had an issue. There was just this assumed thing that was kind of generationally passed down. We don't even know where it came from or how it even got started. We just happen to be the next generation of individuals who were like sitting in the midst of this, the Hatfields and the McCoys type of situation. And we were just like, man, I don't know what the issue is, but let's rock together, man. And we rocking, man. Love Propaganda. That's my dude, straight up. So
yeah, shout out to Props. Looking forward to that excellent dropping.
Yes, get that. I heard it. It's phenomenal.
Word. Now, while we're talking about people who we work with, people who you collaborate with now. You love working with Prop, and you had the Misconceptions joint with the Humble Beast crew. There are some other collaborations that have a lot of people going like these. First one, of course, most notably is you got Big Crit on the record.
Yeah.
Talk to us about what the thought process went into to go ahead and just give the green light on doing that collaboration. And I ask, not just artistically, we see instantly where the artistic green light goes, but scripturally, how were you able to reconcile your faith, the whole idea of, not being unequally yoked, but at the same time being an artist and
Yeah.
stepping out into the world of artistry?
Yeah.
How are you able to reconcile all of that and not obviously violate God and the scriptures?
Yeah. Well, one is, the being unequally yoked verse, that's taken out of context so many times, as it pertains to, what we do as artists. It's just, I mean, yeah, it's just taken out of context. It's not what we do as artists. I mean, is similar to what you do as a journalist or as a writer or as a football player. If I can't, like Tim Tebow should not have teammates that are non-believers if we're going to talk about being unequally yoked in that context. But that's not the context that it's written in. Even Ephesians, when it talks about don't partner with those, don't partner with those who are evil doers. The partnering in the original language is be imitators of. It's like to work with them, in doing dark deeds. And so it's more about holding hands with them to accomplish the works of Satan than it is about doing something else. Now, I won't say that the things that we're talking about are neutral, right? Like, we're talking about the things of God, and I'm not giving an artist that I don't believe is a Christian a platform to speak from a authoritative standpoint. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't be like, yo, Waka Flocka, let's do this song together. I want you to speak on the doctrines of grace. I would never do that, right? Like, I'm not going to give them an authoritative, but I would allow them to express their wrestle, their struggle, their to paint a picture of how they see a certain circumstance or situation, how the violence in Chicago has bothered them. I would, of course, there's, no harm, no foul there. And so really, that's really for me, the issue. And with Crit, it was like, man, another thing a lot of people don't understand is they want to partner with, they want to build relationships with people within the industry. And what you begin to realize is that you don't just say, yo, Jay-Z, man, let's hang out, get some coffee sometime. He's like, what are you talking about? Like, it's just not how this culture works. It's like coming to the hood and being like, hey, man, let's get lunch sometime. That's not how it works in the hood. You know what I'm saying? And so in the music industry, it's not like, yo, let's hang out sometime. It's let's work, or let's work. Let's do something around music. And that's how a lot of my relationships have been built, and a lot of dope opportunities to share the gospel have occurred because of working with cats in the studio. And so, Street Symphony's one, I mean, just straight up, the brother is A&R my project. And, it started with letting him produce on an album and us sitting around in the studio and just talking about God and faith. And that brother got strengthened in his faith. And I mean, and here he is now, so, not trying to be pragmatic, just saying.
No, but there's something to that. There's something to fruit.
Yeah.
There's something to fruit that at some point you got to look back and say, no, my aim was this, and here's evidence where that happened.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people love to assume your motive, right? They assume your motive, or you just want to be famous or be accepted. And I think it's terrible when you assume people's motives. Like, you should always believe the best about people, as First Corinthians talks about. Love believes all. Like, believe the best. Don't assume people's motives, because that's why most people have issues with you. You assume that their motive is selfish ambition or something, and you're like, he's falling off, he's watered down now, because you're assuming a motive. But
yeah. So for you then, what's the line? What's the reach line? We saw the Don Cannon collabo. We saw the Crit collabo. We're seeing the Saigon collabo being talked about out there. Where's the line on? I know you mentioned not having Waka Flocka talk about the doctrines of grace, but
right.
And I'm sure that Saigon's not inviting you on to talk about getting it on in the club or something. But
exactly,
what's the line? Is it case by case? What's the line?
Yeah, I think it is case by case, and it's also when you're a person of integrity, people know you as this kind of a person. And so even like with Saigon hit me up because he's like, man, I know I've heard about you from Static Selector, and I get that you are just 100 authentic about what you believe in, about what you stand on. I respect it. And I want you to be you on track. I don't want you to be what I want you to be. I want you to come and be who Lecrae is. And so for me, the line is always going to be case by case. It's always going to be, man, the Holy Spirit lead me. And it's never going to be like, man, some kind of selfish motive that I just want to see this happen. But for me, the thing is, when Jesus says he says the gates of hell shall not prevail against you. Gates are meant to keep people out, right? So if the gates are going to prevail against me, they're going to keep me out. So for us, the gates to not prevail, that means we're charging the gates. That means we're saying, yo, hell, you can't have hip hop. You can't have culture. We're going to be represented in it. But in order to be represented, you got to step into culture. And so I'm not afraid to step into culture. I've been doing it since I've been a Christian. It's called being a missionary. I think people just get scared when there's money involved, when there's popularity involved, when there's something for selfish gain involved. Then people begin to assume your motive and they get scared. And for me, the line is always like, man, at the end of the day, I want to impact culture and transform culture. And if it's not doing that, then I don't want anything to do with it. That's me.
Now, do you feel like you're being? Let me make sure I word this right. Do you ever feel like, especially when when people who don't cater to the gospel market, when they reach out to you, guys like Don Can, guys like Static Selector, guys like Saigon, people who quite honestly can benefit from your popularity.
Sure.
Do you ever feel like they're using you?
Oh, well, I mean, to me, that's a pillar of that's kind of a modern day persecution in a sense. Like no one's going to beat me in America because I said I love Jesus, right? But what may have to happen is I may have to sacrifice some things in order to see the gospel made manifest, right? So, you may have to sacrifice your own name and popularity, what you feel like you've earned and it's yours, in order for truth to permeate culture. And so for me, it's like, you may feel like you're using me, but really, like, you may get money out of the situation, you know what I'm saying? But ultimately, I'm being exposed to your fan base who may or may not know about Jesus, who may or may not know about truth, who may or may not know about a biblical worldview or cultural outlook on things, and I get to impact them and I get to serve them. And so to me, I'm getting the better end of the deal. You can have the money. I'll take the influence, the impact.
Nevertheless, the gospel is preached.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, again, talking collabos, but kind of shifting a little bit on the collabos, because one thing that you've been a part of as of late has been the Passion Conference.
Yeah,
it's been a great look. I was excited to see it because I'm like, wait, they finally letting some grits on the stage. Good, I was excited to see that they finally let some hip hop up there, some oomph into their ministry. But one thing that's come up as of late has been some theological questioning about what's taking place at Passion, specifically, as of late with the whole meditative prayer issue. One thing, even John Piper has gone as far as to say, well, yeah, I did that, but I kind of blundered a little bit because of a misunderstanding of what was going on. One, are you familiar with any Christian controversy about it? And if so, what's your take on the whole thing as it happened and now looking back on what happened?
Yeah, I mean, I saw it how it came about, and that wasn't. I mean, that's not what the intention was. The way it ended up looking was not like that. Wasn't the intention, right? It was to go read scripture and hear the word of God being preached. That was really what it was, and it was like, in my mind, I'm thinking, man, there are thousands of souls out there that God is specifically speaking to individually as his word goes forth. And it wasn't a home type of deal. It was, let's read the scriptures to 40,000 people and just sit there and let God's word um, resonate on people's heart and mind. And that really was it. It wasn't there was no kind of, I mean, we sat and had a meeting about it backstage. It was the funny part about it. And there was that was not part of the intention at all. It looked one way, but that was so far from what went down. So
Now, this is going to be a little bit of a softball right down the middle here. I'm sending this one right down Main Street for you here. Give you an opportunity to knock this one out the park. We keep it 100 right here. Welcome to, if you're just now tuning in, welcome to Rapzilla.com. I'm Steve Patton here with Billboard's #3 highest selling artist in the country, Lecrae, fresh off the success of his release of the Gravity album. I want to talk to you a little bit, kind of let this one float right down Main Street here. Make sure I get my verbiage just right here, so it's just a knock it out the park here. Often there's criticism that comes from your music, some of the aggression in the music, some of the energy in the music from Christians. Some of your criticism the most criticism that you get, whether it be, from methodology, whether it be from the music itself, it comes from Christians. If you could sit down with one of them, let's say you just pluck the question right off, you pluck the little complaint right off of YouTube. You get to sit the person right in front of you. What would you say to them?
Oh man. I think firstly, man, I would try to extend to them the type of grace and love that they probably are not extending to others. Myself included. And let them know, man, like I've been there. I've been judgmental. I've been self-righteous. I've been Pharisaic. I've looked at people who I'm like, you are not allowed to have any flaws. You're not allowed to have any faults. And that's unfair. It's unfair. We're all accountable for the truth of the scriptures. We're all accountable for our lives, indeed. But his grace is sufficient. It's like me in and of myself, I don't have the power to be all that you want me to be. And then what's funny too, man, is these issues are so small in light of everything going on in the world. I'm like, bro, I was in Sudan holding kids in my arms whose parents were brutally murdered over a senseless war, right? Like hundreds of people are murdered in Chicago, and you're concerned about my track list. Like, for real. There's people who can't drink clean water on a regular day, and the talk of the town is, what does Lecrae mean when he says this in his lyric? And I'm just like, man, come on, man. Like, come on. Like, this is why Jesus came, right? To extend grace and to be the handshake to the world and the culture, to put on human skin and say, hey, look at me, I'm God. And man, at the end of the day, man, if your righteousness does not supersede that of the Pharisees, then it ain't no hope for you. And so, I would just say, man, like, give people grace. Give people grace. We on the same team. We have the same agenda, the same mission, and we're all falling, and we all have issues and struggles, and so yeah, I mean, hopefully I can love on them enough to be understanding. Like, I get it. I totally get it, man. I've done it. I've been there. I've looked at people and said, yo, what is he doing? I can't believe this guy. Never buying any of his stuff again. Never listening to his songs again. never read any of his books again. And it's so graceless, right? Like, it's so judgmental. It's so, like, that's a person, that's a soul that God cares about. Should I not care about that person? That's a soul. And I should pray for them. I should hope that they see things from the right perspective. I should labor in prayer for them. And so my wife always tells me, or she doesn't always tell me, but she consistently tells me, you know, to stop tripping on stuff, like to let that stuff ride, to not be overly concerned with it. And it's like, man, say thank you to 100 people who love what you're doing before you respond to the one person that has tons of criticism for you. Anyway, I could talk for hours on that, but you know, I love them, man.
Last question in this vein, and then we'll get to a couple other things before we sign out here. Having had all of these years thus far, and having seen the transition and the growth that you've had, as you mentioned, and as you've grown in grace over these last few years, when you look at some of the criticism that has been lobbed at you, was there ever a point where you stopped and you went, you know, they kind of have a point?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, absolutely. You gotta, because you're human, so you have to, like, now what I would never do is, like, someone tweets me, Lecrae, I think you're being too prideful. I wouldn't just be like, man, they got me. What I would say is, I'd say, yo, close friend who knows me well, knows my consistency. I've heard a couple people say that I'm coming off arrogant, you know, on my song or on my tweet, or hey, pastor, hey, you know, community, this is what I'm hearing. What are y'all thoughts? Speak into that. Because they know me. They know me. They have real time with me, and they can like give me the real deal. Somebody on Twitter or Facebook or who buys my album doesn't really know me, right? Like, you know what is projected to you, but you don't know me. And so, but I'm always like, I'm never above criticism. I'm never above critique. I just want to make sure that it's couched in a circle of individuals who can really put some weight to it, versus me just kind of, man, that dude said my songs are whack. I guess they're whack. You know what I'm saying? So.
Now, speaking on the music, let's talk a little bit. Let's get back to the music for a second here. Let's get back. Now, with this album, when the singles dropped, because you mentioned, you know, a dude said, you know, my album's whack. When the singles dropped, in some circles, they were met with mixed reviews.
Yeah.
Did that ever cause alarm in the Reach camp? Like, whoa, hold up.
Never.
People liking I Know a little bit. People not liking the Lord Have Mercy. People loving. I mean, was there a point where you looked at the reaction to the singles and said, "Hey, maybe we need to go record a couple more songs," or were you guys set for the mission?
Never. The thing is the album was done when those songs came out, and so we knew what we had. You know, we knew the music. I'm gonna be honest, like, it's almost like letting people hear songs that you're like, I don't want them to hear this one yet. I want to wait till they get the album. Give them that one. Give them that one. Because we really don't have a market for radio, a market for singles. Like, people who rock with me, they want the album. You know, they're not like, people don't buy my singles. They're buying my album. They're like, no, I want a whole situation of good music. I don't just want a couple songs. And so it's like, we don't want to put too much investment in a particular, like, a song. The investment is in the album more than a particular song. So, you know, it was like, they ain't even heard the intro, man. Don't sweat it. You know what I'm saying? That's what it was kind of like. So.
Right, now on the intro, man, I gotta say, you when I finally got a chance to hear the album, and you're talking to people who heard the album, it was like, yo, this dude blacked out on his intro. This is some of the he even took it a step farther than he did on Church Clothes.
Yeah.
Lyrically on this album, you went far beyond any of your previous albums.
Yeah.
What was it that made you say, when we create this album, lyrically, as an MC,
yeah,
I'm going in. What was some of the what was some of the decision making in there that said, hey, you know what? Because before it seemed as if it was, hey, let's make music that's palatable to the masses. This is the kind of music that they like. So
Yeah.
let's take something and make it with the gospel and make it. We'll never make the gospel cool, but let's try to make it palatable for the culture a bit more. But it seemed like you threw some of that out a little bit more and threw in a little bit more energy, a little bit more lyricism.
Yeah.
Walk us through some of that just thought process, at least in those whiteboard meetings where you said, okay, this is the direction we're going.
Um, it's hard when when people don't expect anything more. And that's always been my critique. And I know I'm gonna catch flack for saying this, but it's always been my critique with the genre of Christian hip hop is it for whatever reason, the bar seems lower than just hip hop as a whole, right? Like, how come stuff gets to pass at this level? Like, why we not measure things up to Slaughterhouse and Eminem and Jay-Z's level? Like, why is it just at this, level? And so there was a season of comfortability, just like slow, flow, blow, whoa. Put that on the song and no critique. It's awesome, man. We love it. And man, as a missionary, as one who wants to progress the culture, as one who just wants to represent God and make good art. Prop says this all the time. He says, like, the pastor's the teacher and I'm the illustrator. I'm supposed to illustrate it. I'm supposed to illustrate the greatness of who God is. Then, man, your craft has got to be done well. And so, man, I was just challenged. One, if I'm going to enter the arena of just mainstream hip hop, I've got to step it up. I've got to be better. I've got to work harder. It's like going from running track in college to like, yo, I'm going to the Olympics. I got to step it up. And man, Swoop's album, The Wake Up, woke me up. I mean, that album just slapped me, man. It was just like, this dude is raising the bar. And it just made it got me excited, man. It got me excited for, artists who can be dope, who can represent their faith, and who can make great music. And I mean, Swoop's album was the wake up for me. You don't have Swoop, The Wake Up, you need that. I mean, that was it for me. It was kind of like Johan beating Hussein in the preliminaries, and Hussein Bolt was like, oh shoot, I gotta step it up. you sang, but so Swoop was that for me. He was like, yes, okay, let's go. And man, it's dope when the DJ premieres, when the Saigons, when the Lupes, when the Talibs are like, yo, that was dope, because those are professionals at this craft as well. And you respect what they do, and so for them to respect what you do says, okay, let's run then. If we're running in the same lanes, then let's run. And I'm not done. I'm still working. I want the pen game to be better. You know what I'm saying? So
now you threw a name out there, and I'm going to ask. I know I said I wouldn't come back to collaborations, but I got to ask this because this is the #1 most frequently asked question from a lot, basically from our fan base. You got Saigon. You got Crit. Are we going to see a Lupe collaboration with Lecrae?
I mean, if it's right, if it makes sense, if everybody's all in, if it's right, it's just, Lupe, to me too, like, I don't see him wanting to make a song just because everybody thinks we should make a song. I see him being the type of person that's saying it's got to be right, and that's how I feel. I feel the same way, so.
Right now, an issue that is close to both of your hearts, at least what's from what we see from your kind of spilling over into social media with you and Lupe, an issue that seems to be very close to both of your hearts. And actually, even though I'm not in the city itself, it's impacted me as well. It's been the situation in Chicago right now. And you mentioned that your song "Violence," produced by Ty Shane, banging song by the way. But you mentioned that the situation in Chicago is actually the inspiration for the song Violence. Talk to us a bit about, just what you're seeing, what's on your heart, and what your cry is for the church in Chicago, considering what's going on right now.
Yeah, I think, man, it's it's gonna be here. It's always gonna be there. It's always gonna be an issue. Death. There's a time to die. There will be a time for war. But this is senseless, right? Like this is just evil at the core, and I believe that if we really are the hands and feet, if we really are connecting to people and building relationships with people, then we're giving them an alternative. We're giving them a different outlook, a different way. We're giving them a different picture. There's two guys in inner city Memphis to this day who, just from seeing my life, their lives are transformed because they didn't know it could be done. They didn't know, a black man could go to college, could get married, could hold his wife's hand, could raise children, and still live in that community. And so just our presence in these communities, just our engaging people, I think gives them an alternative, right? Like, I think we're just so afraid. The church is afraid, and we keep moving further and further away from the city center. Or what we do is we're moving into the city center and pushing people out into the suburbs, pushing the cities out into the burbs, but we're not trying to engage. Our idea of inner city ministry is building a coffee house where the hood was. And cats in the hood don't drink coffee like that, man. So what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, start a sports program, you know what I'm saying? But I guess at the end of the day, it's just really, we've got to engage. We can't run, man. We've got to show up and engage and provide an alternative reality for them.
Right, man. Well, yeah, I definitely appreciate you speaking on that, man. It's an issue that's it's kind of capturing the nation's attention right now, and I've been mentioning even on Twitter. Shout out to Brian Dye, by the way, who is actually tonight, as we are sitting here doing this interview, he's conducting a meeting with other church leaders in the city of Chicago on what should be done as a response to what's happening there. So shout out to him. Shout out to Jay Quest as well, with University Church Chicago, because they've been planning and they've been doing some things in the city to get involved. So shout out to y'all. Thank you for reaching out and touching the culture. And Lecrae, as we kind of draw this to a close here, we've been together for about 45 minutes here. As we start to draw this to a close, a few more things we want to highlight as we're here on Rapzilla.com with Lecrae. Now, you dropped a teaser to something online. You dropped a teaser for Church Close Volume 2. One, were you just messing with us? And two, if you're doing that, do you already have any DJs lined up to host that?
Yeah, Church Close Volume 2, man. I love what I do, man. I love making great music, and I want to keep going and keep on making it. So I don't plan to stop. I don't see any reason why Church Close Volume 2 isn't coming out. Shout out to Street Symphony, making it happen. So yeah, man. So Church Close Volume 2, we ready, man. We ready to go. So all you producers out there, you didn't get a shot. Church Close or Gravity, come on, let's go.
Now, I know with you being you're not just a missionary to the culture, but you're also part of you doing that. You're a label head as well. Go ahead and take a few seconds and prep us for what's coming up. What else is coming up from, as Don Cannon would call, the Reach Records Empire?
Hilarious.
What else is
well, man, shout out to my man Pro. Pro's one of the hardest working dudes in this. Like, I mean, the dude is a beast. He just dropped a phenomenal mixtape. Make sure you go get that PSA Volume 3. It's ridiculous. Pro's in the lab grinding. I mean, if Pro probably has 40 songs done now, That's the way he works, man. The dude is a monster. And he got RMG, Cannon, Tone, or Tillman. Why am I calling him pro? It's Derek Minor. Forgive me. It's Derek Minor. That's what I meant to say. Anyway, Tadashi, you know what I'm saying, is grinding. I was just with him today. And he's grinding. He's working on some stuff as well. So, watch out for him. But, if you don't have if you don't have KB's project, you need to go get that immediately. If you don't have Tripp's project, you need to go get that immediately. Weight and Glory and The Good Life. And then, last but not least, man, everybody's waiting to hear from Andy Mineo. Probably one of the most talented dudes that I've come across in a long time. He has some surefire heat in the kitchen. So you guys will see it coming when the weather is cold. That's all I'm going to say. It will heat up when the weather gets cold.
Word. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and throw you one of them DNC bailout plans right here. Also, shout out to DJ Official in the lab working on his project as well.
You're right. DJ Official's working on his project as well, and that thing is a beast. Honestly, it's like one of the DJ Official produces the music that a lot of cats are scared to produce. If I'm gonna be honest, it's very progressive. I think people within Christian hip don't. It's like, what's happening? But if he was in some indie circle in New York or something, they'd be eating that junk alive. So I got to broaden your horizons and get ready for this DJ Official project. It's on some next level stuff, straight up.
Yeah, he smacked it out the park with Power Trip.
Oh yeah. I stole that off his album. Thank you, Fish. I appreciate that.
So, well, man, any last words?
Yep, it just kind of, something happened. I don't know what happened, but I just missed that. What happened?
One more time then, man. Well, we want to, man, I know you got family or whatnot, man. You got a 1-year-old over there who's starting to run around, climb up on furniture and whatnot, man. And you got a wife, and we pushing the 10 o'clock hour. So, thank you for your time. And do you have any last words that you want to share with the public?
Yeah, first of all, everybody who went out to supported Gravity or who is supporting Gravity, you don't understand how much I appreciate y'all. It's so much I wish I could reveal and say to y'all. When we get to heaven, y'all gonna know what you buying this album really meant. And those in the know, but those who don't know. But you will one of these days. And man, you just don't understand the infrastructure that you are tearing down when you purchase that album. You don't understand the influence and the impact that's being made by you getting that joint. And I'm just so appreciative. And I want to continue to serve y'all, man. I love y'all to death. I can't wait to see y'all on tour. I'm not perfect. I don't get it right all the time. I'm sure something I said during this interview offended somebody. Give me grace. Pray for me. I'm praying for you. I love y'all. Much love.
Word. Well, Lecrae, man, thanks for the time. If you haven't copped it yet, now, if you're watching this, if you follow me on Twitter or if you know me personally, I know some of my peeps back in the D watching. What's up, y'all? What's going on, Lisa? Mike, what's going on? Know some people back in the D are watching. If you know me personally, you know I do not tell you to go buy a lot of music. You know that. I do not tell you to go buy a lot of music. I'm telling you right now, you need to go get Lecrae's Gravity album. Go get it. Don't bootleg it. Bootleg church clothes all you want. He wants you to go do that. Bootleg church clothes to the death. But that Gravity, go on iTunes.
Thank you.
Google Play.
Thank you.
Because I don't know if you knew this, but last week you also had the #2 album on Google Play while you were #1 on iTunes. So, well, kudos there as well. But go on Google Play, go on iTunes, go to Best Buy, go to Target, go to Walmart, go to Family Christian, go somewhere. Go cop that Gravity. Is dope music, not just because it's Christian. It's dope music because it's dope music. Go get it. Lecrae, shout out to you, man. Hopefully I get to see you. Hopefully we get to see you during the tour. If you want to give people just information where they can go find out about the tour.
Unashamedtour.com. Go to unashamedtour.com. We will be in a city near you. I promise you, it's going down. Unashamedtour.com. We'll see y'all there.
So, thanks for your time, sir. Thank you for tuning in to Rapzilla.com. God bless.